I guess a buyer could have concerns that they aren't getting the best true net price for the contract because the contract was inflated as to cover full commissions. However, we believe that most buyers out there are savvy enough to know what the price point is. I mean, one of the benefits now of buying today as opposed to when you and I first bought, people can check Trulia, Zillow, Homes Database, all these other websites that are out there and get and ascertain what market value is. That wasn't available to us just even a few years ago. So we're finding that most buyers are more informed than they used to be. And we certainly don't recommend anybody overpaying, although it's hard to tell, when the market would truly bottom and if pricing will continue to go down. Fortunately, we've been relatively immune to that in the Washington metropolitan area as opposed to a lot of the other places in the country.
Should a buyer beware that if he's utilizing an agent as the same agent for the listing? Is it a conflict of interest? Is there any pitfalls that the buyer should be aware of for utilizing an agent that's also listing the property?
Well, the agent should be aware that on most short sales, the lenders will not pay full 6% commission when you're doing something called dual agency, when you're representing both the seller and the buyer. They'll reduce the commission down to 4% because they've already paid a full commission on one side. So it doesn't make sense in our perspective. We also believe it's conflict of interest to have dual agency because how can you fully represent one party and represent the other party? So yeah, we believe that the buyers should get their own agents. Remember, buyers, that your agent is compensated by the seller, and in this case, by the selling bank, which is ultimately making the decision. So we believe it's important from an independence perspective to get your own agent.
What will the seller do repairs to the home notated on the home inspection or the appraisal? And how prevalent does the home inspection play in the short sale process?
Well, unfortunately, not much. It doesn't mean you don't have an inspection for a short sale, but most inspections are done for informational purposes only. So that can alert you, Mark, about the defects in the house you're buying. But for the most part, based on the true deficiency that the banks are taking when they agree to allow a short sale, they don't cover most of those repair costs. Doesn't mean your seller might not cover them to get out of their situation, but just because your seller's short selling a property does not mean that they won't be bringing money to the settlement. So you should do a home inspection if you're buying a short sale. You shouldn't always expect that the bank is going to cover the repair items, much like a third-party seller would cover in an arm's length transaction. But doesn't mean that the seller won't cover them, or possibly the agent might cover some through their commissions. But it's critical for you to still have your home inspection because, again, possibly you've written a contract that's not even approved yet. If you spend a couple $100 on a home inspection and determine you have 20% of contract price of home issues, then walk away from the contract.
Can a buyer, say a buyer enters into a contractual agreement with the seller, and during the process, before they have bank approval, the seller has the buyer has buyer remorse. He wants out of the deal. So long as the bank has not approved that short sale, can they get out of that contract, or can the seller sue him for specific performance?
Well, specific performance is generally not available to sellers in short sale situations due to the fact that specific performance is a very hard remedy to achieve. In general, where we have seen specific performance awarded is when somebody's built a custom home for somebody, where they've gone out of their way to tailor the home for the buyer's needs. The buyer's not buying a custom home here in this short sale situation. They're buying something that somebody already owns, that's already built, that's already out there to them. There could be breach of contract remedies, but it's not generally specific performance. However, breach of as you said, the contract could still be contingent on third-party approval. If third-party approval hasn't been issued, then there wouldn't be any breach of contract, and the buyer can exit the contract.
Buyer can get out of it without, even if he's signed along the dotted line, he's not going to be held legally responsible.
Correct.
Another hot topic in today's market, deed in lieu of. Can you explain that to us, for our viewers, so they understand what that's all about? That's another option for them other than the short sale.
Sure. Oftentimes, lenders will allow somebody facing a short, who's on the road to foreclosure.
Use me as an example.
Okay. Mark you haven't paid your mortgage now in 6 months. You've been, the bank has chosen not to foreclose on you up to now for some reason. You have not begun a short sale process or have not been able to get the short sale approved. Often the bank will allow you to do what's called deed in lieu of foreclosure, where you are assigning the legal rights, you are deeding it back from you to Bank of America or whomever your lender was.
So you're just signing away your rights to it, just giving it back to the bank.
Correct.
What are the ramifications on that on a consumer, on their credit report, credit scores, taxable income, anything like that?
Well, it's worse from a credit perspective than a short sale because banks don't always have to report it as a settled debt.
Really?
On a short sale, they're reporting it on the credit perspective as a settled debt. As we spoke about on our previous show, settled debts only affect your credit now for 24 months, where foreclosures affect them for 7 years. So the deed in lieu, although the bank has acquiesced to receiving the property, you're still in that gray area where how they're going to report it. They might not have told you how they were going to report it. They haven't told you what value they've set for it. Essentially, what happens if your home's worth $400,000, Mark, you deed in lieu it back to Bank of America, and they sign a value to your deed in lieu for $1, de minimis consideration. Sure. The loss that they're reporting on their 1099 to you for cancellation of indebtedness income is $399,999.
Okay.
The difference is, as we spoke about on our previous short sale show, from the seller's perspective, when you're participating in a short sale, you see the numbers. You know what the loss is. You've been able to mitigate that loss. You've been able to negotiate it. With deed in lieu, you don't know what value they're assigning to the home, and you don't know if they're going to come after you, Mark Rigney, for the difference.
Is it wise to have maybe an attorney like yourself negotiate a deed in lieu with the lender?
Sure. We always believe it's wise to have an expert, whether it's an attorney, whether it's somebody versed in short sales, whether it's a bank officer. We personally believe we're capable of doing it. This is what we do, but we believe that you need representation when you're making a large decision like this that can affect your credit for at least the next 7 years, if not the rest of your life.
What would make a deed in lieu of more advantageous than a short sale? I wonder what circumstance would you want to do a deed of lieu and just the short sale, it's not going to work in this situation? Well,
deed in lieu is actually, we believe, a resort after you've tried a short sale. Deed in lieu is cleaner than a foreclosure in a sense that it's brought to finality without the bank expending the money to list the property, to give proper notices to all creditors, to post it in the newspaper, to send someone to the courthouse steps to sell it. So for banks, it's more of an efficient system. For the consumer, it's better in that it's more efficient and it's less stigmatic. Your neighbor doesn't read in the Post on Sunday that your house is being foreclosed on.
Right.
But it is not, we don't believe in any respect it's more advantageous than a short sale.
So you would say if a consumer was underwater and he just had to get out, it was not working, first go for the short sale.
Absolutely.
If that doesn't work, try the deed in lieu of.
Absolutely.
Then the foreclosure, then the bankruptcy.
Again, we don't advocate bankruptcy,
right.
So because
if they had no other choice.
But part of our belief is that we try to preserve credit as much as possible because once you stop the detrimental effects to credit, then you can start to rehabilitate. Once you've declared bankruptcy, you've really put large hole in your credit report that's going to be a long time before you recover.
What about condo and HOA fees? What if they're presently past due?
Well, one of the advantages of working with a title company and a law firm such as we are at New Era Title is we check all that, and when we provide the lender with a settlement statement for their approval, we've tried to accurately portray what is due. Because again, we have one slice of the apple that the lender can approve it on. We hope to get all those covered. That's the goal. By accurately presenting to the lender what is due, then they will approve it. If I got Mark Rigney's house an approval to sell at $300,000 where the bank has to net $281 and it was all in commissions, then Mark's in trouble when the settlement statement shows that $4,000 in condo dues are due. Either Mark's going to have to pay them or the new buyer is going to have to pay them. So it's part of the facilitator and negotiator's job who does the negotiations from the seller's perspective to ultimately get the approval to give an accurate portrayal of the debts.
Lawrence, thanks for taking time out of your busy
Hey, Mark,
day to
it's
be
always
here
a pleasure.
again.
Thanks again.
Remember, if you would like to apply for a mortgage loan or just have some questions in regards to a mortgage loan, please visit our website at www.markrigney.org. If you have any questions about short sales, please visit Lawrence's website at www.neweratitle.com. Our email info is listed on the screen below. We will read and answer some of your questions on our next show. On behalf of my friend and colleague, Lawrence Tucker, thank you for watching Mortgage Solutions with Mark Rigney. We will see you next time.